Hello and welcome back. This is my fourth video in C++ beginner tutorial. We talked for last video about variables and that they can be made to stand for four things. So once again, this is our basic variable creation. So here we created this integer variable x, okay? And so x can stand for real integer numbers, which means whole numbers. Okay, that's what this int means. And then we have we made x stand for 34. That's what this assignment is. So x assigned 34. So 34 is assigned to x. And now whenever x is mentioned, what we actually mean to say is 34. Now, one thing I wanted to say is that you can use x in many places, including in the assignment line to x. Okay, I know that it sounds a little confusing, but let me show you what I mean. Okay, so for instance, I can take x, okay, and let's say I want to reassign x to a different value. Okay, I can actually do this. I can assign it to x plus x times 5. Okay, so in math, this whole line right here would make no sense at all, but in programming it makes perfect sense. Okay, what this does basically is this says that, because remember I told you that it looks at the right side first. Okay, and on the right side we have x, and then we have another x, and then we have a 5. Okay, so first of all, what happens here is computer already knows that right now x is equal to 34. Okay, so when it reads this line right here, it reads this as 34, this is 34. So first what it happens is it evaluates this x to 34 and then this x to 34. And then it does the calculation, multiplication first, so it calculates that, and then it adds another 34. And then finally, when this result is completely calculated, it assigns the result back to x. So after this line right here, after it, x is no longer 34, it's whatever the result of that is. So let me just bring that back to show you how that works. So it's perfectly normal to do that. For example, another good example would be if you want to increase x by 2. Okay, so if you want to increase x by 2, you can just do x equals x plus 2. And that would simply mean that take x, whatever it was, add 2 to it, and the new number should go back into the x. Okay, so this should not be confusing like it is in math. It's not confusing. It would be confusing if you look at it from a math perspective, but it isn't from a programming perspective. Yeah, in fact, this equal sign is probably, I mean, you should just look at equal sign as something like this, even though that's not an actual programming character in this sense, but this is what is actually happening. It looks at this first, and then it drags it over and assigns it to that variable. Okay? Now, let me just go ahead and go a little more because we're still at 3 minutes. So you can use many variables, obviously, not just one. You can create as many as you very well please. You can do int y, int z, int num stones, whatever you like. You can just keep adding these variables. Sorry about that. I had to pause and answer a phone call. So yeah, you can create as many variables as you wish, and you can interchange them in expressions. So you can use, like, you can say x plus 2 minus y, assuming y is some number, times something else, times z. You can do that. You could just use a lot of them in one expression, and you can reuse the ones, like you can use x plus x, times y, and then another y. Like you can do that. You can have many x's, many y's, and num stones in there somewhere to make this expression as complex as need be. But at the end, this equal sign is still going to get considered last, because it's going to go through this entire expression, calculate it, and then assign whatever the result is back to x, or back to whatever it is you're assigning to. Okay, so a couple things about declaring variables just real quick. There is a shortcut which allows us to declare several variables of one type right after each other. So like you can actually do this. You can say int x comma y, comma z, comma numstones, right? You could do that. You can say you want to declare all of these, and then what happens is it's the same as saying int x, int y, int z, int numstones. That's what happens. So you can just use this comma to declare multiple variables, but this only works if they're all of the same type. Right now we only know one type, which is the integer, the whole number variable. Okay, so you can do that. Another thing you can do is you can give them their initial values right away, which is actually a good idea. All right, so we don't have to deal with garbage. You could actually say int x equals to 6, like that, in one line. And what that does is that assigns the initial value and basically the initial value for this variable, so you never have to deal with garbage values. And when I showed you the shortcut way of declaring many variables, you can also do that. Like you can do x equals 5, comma, y equals 10, comma, z equals 15. You could do that. Okay, so that's another way of writing the same basic thing that I just showed you. So I think this is about time that we stop, because the next subject is not going to be, well, it's going to be more about variables, about different variable types. But let's just give you a break right here, and I will talk to you in next video. That will be video 5. See ya.